Alright, how's it going guys? Deekadiko here and I am back with another banger list. Today we're not gonna be playing any games, but instead I'm gonna give you some deck options that I think are the best at climbing in Gwent. As you know, if you somehow hasn't reached pro rank, it's at the end of the season right now, you haven't reached pro rank. I think these decks are what's best for you if you want to go to top 500, you want to keep top 500, you want to achieve top 200. I think these decks are the best options for you. Now granted, there are a lot of decks that are good, but since our goal here is to climb as fast as we can and as efficiently as we can, I think these are the best decks that I could. So the criteria for the list here is that it's kind of like, of course the deck has to have a high win rate, but not only that, you have to be able to play this deck subconsciously. So these decks are the deck that I think a lot of people has practiced with, and if you even haven't practiced these kind of decks, I think it's, most of the time you kind of able to go, you're kind of like able to 2-0 people in a way that you're able to dish out your value, all of your value in round 2. So because of that, these decks are really good at climbing fast, because when you know you're gonna lose, you're just gonna lose. And for example, if like these decks that I thought I made, but this decks that I showed you guys here is actually like you usually want to win round 1 with them, and if you can't, you're usually able to safely get to a long round and win the game. So yeah, the criteria for the decks that I've chose here is that it has to be good in a 2-0 scenario, because you want to climb fast, and usually you don't really have to think about it. So it's a dumber version of the deck that I usually do, because you want to be able to play as fast and efficiently as you can. So there's no tricks here. It's just pure good value deck that is really good to climb really fast. So without further ado, let's get into the decks. First one is Monster. So Monster, I think there are, of course, the option to play Golden Necker deck, which is really good in Monster. You could use Golden Necker with Relic. You could use Golden Necker with Vampire. But for this, I don't think Golden Necker is that good anymore at winning. It has a slightly lower win rate simply because you're not able to put an Erendite in your deck. It's just gonna be, kind of not good. So instead, I chose that the 2 best monsters deck to climb this season, at the end of the season, is the Deathwish deck and Vampire deck. Vampire, like normal Vampire, with Unseen Elder and Regis. So first things first, with Monster, Overwhelming Hunger here, I think it's this a really good deck. Magpie has tried this deck on Gwent Open. He's been winning with this deck. Like, people didn't ban this deck and she's just been winning. So the reason behind that, I think, is pretty straightforward, is that usually he picked this deck as his red coin, and then he's able to tempo out his opponent in round 1 with something like Brew's Ritual deck into a Consume, into like Abai is playing for 10, all that good stuff. So yeah, most of the time with this Deathwish deck, you kind of want to win round 1, get that sweet Erendite value going, go bleed them in round 2. Even if you're not bleeding them in round 2, you should be able to get a lot of tempo in round 3 to be able to get that sweet Erendite value. So yeah, going straight to the game plan, I think it's pretty straightforward since you're a monster. You might want to change this TA to like Urn of Shadows. I think Urn of Shadows is fine. And you might want to change like 1 Giant Toe to like 1 Barghest here. Simply because of, you want more consumes in your deck. So this deck is kind of like tagged against Swarm deck, because, Syndicate is playing a lot of Swarm. Even like Scoia'tael has a lot of Swarm, so we're playing Lacerate with Forktail. Just being able to have that white punish is really, really good. One thing that's like different on this deck than Magpie's version is that we're not really running Sheet Roll. Sheet roll is really good in a tournament situation because you know what your opponent have. They might have heat wave, they might have all the stuffs that you know. The, so for shit roll is that you don't really know how safe it is, and because it's a closed deck list, right? In ladder, you don't know what your opponent is playing, and most of the time you're just gonna let it die. You have like one consume with Urat, one extra consume with Brewis that you can float and then use the moment you put Brewis on board. It's really good. It's a really good play, but I think simply having more control, especially since this deck doesn't really have any control. We only have one lock, maybe like 4 damage, 6 damage, and then Erendite damage. And the rest of our stuff is only like White Punish. We're playing Werkat and Forktail with Lacerate. I mean, Rodfin is kind of like a control, semi-control deck, but it's a random damage, so it's it doesn't really that much. So yeah, we're running triple Crones here. I think like this triple Crones, since the moment Brewis got reworked, I think changed to have Zeal on her consumes, and you gain charges whenever you play Crones. I've been wanting to put this tree on a Deathwish deck, and I'm really glad that Magpie did that. Like people now realize that there is a chance to put this relic cards in a Deathwish deck. Very, very nice. Not to mention it's a 3 consumes in a 7 provision slot. If you don't know, Barbagoz is only 2 consumes on a 6 provision slot, so being able to get the Brewer's value I think is really, really great. So yeah, game plan is it's very straightforward. You go round 1, you just play the Brewer's Ritual. You just go for the Brewer's Ritual, consume all the stuff. You don't need to go for the Urn of Shadows on the Brewer's Ritual. It's fine to just go for like Harpy Egg or Rotfiend. It's playing for 6 points of value, 5 damage of value. Very, very nice. And you're just gonna consume all of your stuff with Giant Toad. So that's why I was recommending something like Barghest, because you can consume your units twice. But I don't think that's really necessary because we have Leader Charge, you have the consume from Brewis, we have the consume from Arcus Queen, most importantly, we have the consume from Urat. So Urat, I don't think you really want to play this guy in round 1. It's really not necessary because this guy could consume a lot of your stuff going to later rounds. So yeah, this is more of a mid-range stuff that's really good at tempoing your opponents, really good at gaining advantage for that Erendite value. So round 1, you play Brewer's Ritual from your Whispering Hillock. If you don't have both, like what can you do? You don't really want to use Scenario in round 1. So most of the time, what I would do is that if I don't have any Brewer's Ritual or Whispering Hillock, I would probably mostly just settle for the carryover. Let's play all the Deathwish card, like play all the bronze, maybe get that. Play the Peller if they don't run Defender. Yeah, all the stuff. You could try to put in one Squirrel. Like putting one Squirrel wouldn't hurt, definitely. But I think most of the time you just want to try and 2-0 the opponents. Like that's all you're gonna do. And playing a Squirrel is actually like killing your tempo. And you already have like 2 Giant Toads. You don't really, I don't think like you kind of want to risk. I mean, it's like Squirrel, you can never go wrong with Squirrel, right? It's 4 provision. When it does something, it does like greatly, but it's a 4 provision. Like you can do whatever you want. You can change the bridge stroll. It's fine. We still have like 3 really good bronze Deathwish units, and yeah, I believe that's pretty much it for the deck strategy. Like the rest. The main objective here is just to tempo round 1, try to 2 opponents in round 2, and if it doesn't seem possible, go to shorten the round as much as possible, save your Erendite value for round 3, or the Leader Charge and Deadloft combo for round 3, and it should be good. You could also, of course, use your Arcus Queen to use it on Deadloft. Like even using Arcus Queen onto the bronze's monster is not bronze's Deathwish is not that bad, right? You could use it on Werkat also. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can use. Arcus Queen is a really good value card. Deathwish has been receiving a lot of support, and I think this deck is really good at climbing. in a, you know, in a fast environment. So moving on to the other monster deck, I think it's Vampire. I don't put Relic here. I think Relic is just has really been dumped down. It's been nerfed a lot, and I think it really cannot compete with any other like good decks on ladder. For example, against Coyatel, it just get outvalued. Most of its enemies is gonna get killed. Pretty straightforward. Even if you run the Golden Necro version, most of the time, your Stealth Eater won't be doing that much value. The Witch's Apprentice is gonna get killed right off the bat if the opponent is good and they save the removal for the Witch Apprentice. And yeah, I think Monster Relic is just not doing it. It's still really good, and if you're more accustomed to that deck, it's fine to play it, but I prefer Blood Scent over Relic for 2-0 scenario. So yeah, with Relic, not Relic, with Vampire here, it's very straightforward. We're playing Regis, Unseen Elder, Detlef, Oriana, Defender, and 1 Heatwave. I think Heatwave is just a really good card in a Vampire deck. You know, most of the time, because you don't really have any control deck, and it's really hard to gain advantage in round 1 with Vampire because it's an engine deck. Your engine tends to get quite a while to get going, and I think just having Heatwave here as a safety button is really nice. You can of course go for something like Gigny if you're like dare enough, if you're like Giga Chad, but I prefer just having Heatwave here. You can go for Geralt. Heatwave is a very safe card, a very easy to use card. You can use this card to anything you want, and it's it's a very good card. And so running Oniromancy as well, you can kind of like tutor the Heatwave with Oniromancy, very nice. So we're running Defender here. Defender, it's very straightforward. Your opponent has to use one, at least like either a Purify or a hard removal on this. Like they need to play Heatwave or a what's that card? Like Purify, and even like something like Tasha Mutna Sword can't really get through it, which is actually like really good most of the time if you're up against something like Skelly. Alright, yeah, right. It's 11, like 7 plus 4, it's 11 power, like 11 value. Tasha Mutna Sword only deals 10 to a defender. So yeah, the opponent can't really kill it with Tasha Mutna Sword. This is actually really good. Their option is only to use Purify or something like Heatwave, or just simply kill it, and it's gonna serve 11 points of value, 11 for 9, which is really good. We're running 1 lock here just to be safe. As I've said before, Monster doesn't really have that much control, so we're running Heatwave and lock just for the sake of control. And it's just the rest card is just a normal monster bronzes. We're playing 2 Flatters, 2 Incubus. I really like Incubus in a monster deck, even if we're not playing the Golden Necro version. I think having the Necromancer Stone is just too much of a risk. It's too low of a tempo. I don't really like it unless you're playing the Golden Necro version with 2 Megascopes. Like I think I'm fine with just playing 2 Flitter from hand, or like 1 from Operator. Like we don't really need to use the Necromancer Stone. And by playing Incubus, you're actually giving yourselves you're actually giving your opponents a unit which you can then bleed. So theoretically, if you have Incubus, you're getting the max value from Regis Reborn, and that's actually, I think, is really good. It's, I put 2 of this simply because you're gonna be able to get body at the start of your round. So you're proactive play, and you're effectively already bleeding the opponent, and you're getting the value from Regis, which is actually really good. We're playing 2 Alps, 2 Nekarot, 2 Garcane, and 2 Fist of Blood. So yeah, we're not really running any standard Purify like Peller or Queen of the Night. We're running Fist of Blood. Just go for the offensive, because if our units got locked, then so what? We just play more engines. Very nice. Yeah, playing that love here, I think that love is just a really good unit. On deploy, if you have 2 vampires on board side by side, you can use the crew. That's not crew, but because of its ability to spawn 4 turns, up to 4 turns of Blood Moon, essentially becomes a 6 plus I believe 8. 6 plus 8 is already 14. Not to mention the ability to damage a unit by 1, damage a bleeding enemy unit by 1. And it spawned an Akimara, that's an extra vampire for Oriana as well. I think that Deathwish is a really nutty card. Yeah, I believe that's pretty much it for the introduction. Playing Gale here, I think Gale is just the best mid-tier bronze, mid-tier gold card for vampire because of the value it gives. Like if you manage to death blow an like 8 power unit, it becomes effectively like 2 damage because of the 1 bleeding that gets, you know, so like 2 damage, so that's already 6 plus 8, so that's 6 plus 8, that's basically like 14 for 6, which is not on the same level as Flather, but you know, it's really good nonetheless. So yeah, pretty standard here. I don't think we want to use the devotion effect on the Ancient Elder. I think we're fine just giving bleeding by 2 every turn. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The game plan is very straightforward. If you manage to draw your operator and Flather round 1, you're in a pretty good spot. You just play them, use 1 leader charge, and then you play a Necrot, play the Flather, play Alp, and you're gonna be able to use Incubus on the Flather next round. Use 1 leader charge, and then you just play your Necrot, you play your Alp, play your bleeding cards, yada yada. And then, you know, if opponent doesn't answer your engine, you could use your Regis in that round, and if opponent kind of like catches up with you, you can save your Regis for round 3 short round play. It's gonna play for at least 20 points, 21 points, 20 to like 25 points, which is really good. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Monster. I think yeah, Monster has a really decent Dax here to use to climb fast. I like, this is my highest like recommendation if you really wanna climb fast, because it's Monster is very simple to play, yet is very strong. So yeah, this is my highest recommendation if you want to try to climb. Use Monster. Like Monster is just, you know, and if you lose, you'll mold less easily. So this is the underlying quality of Monster deck, is that when you lose, it doesn't affect you as much as when you play other decks, because you know, it's the deck is fun, right? I mean, fun is very relative, but with Monster, the line of play becomes extremely simple. It becomes extremely streamlined, that you don't really need to think what to play. For example, if you have Operator and Flather in round 1, you just play it first, and then boom, and then use your charge. You don't really need to mind using, like, it's very streamlined. And then you play your Op, you play your Necrot, you play your Gale, you try to get as many bleedings as you want, as you can for the Oriana value. Your proactive play should be Incubus, and round 2, as always, because you want to get that bleeding value. So ideally you want Incubus, Flather into leader charge, or if you think that opponent is gonna have really good toll punish, Incubus into Necrot also is fine. Incubus into Garkane is also fine. There's a lot of stuff that you can do here, and they're basically playing for almost the same points, so you don't really need to think that much. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for monsters. Let's move on to I guess we can try SY and move on to Syndicate. The Syndicate, I believe the easiest, not the easiest, but the best deck to climb is I think it's of course the off the books with the Tribute package and the Firesworn package, Devotion. I think it's just been really good this season, and we're taking one Tin Boy here. I believe Tin Boy has been severely underrated, but near the end of the season, I believe there's going to be a lot of decks that swarm their boards. For example, in the mirror, Tin Boy is actually like game winning in some scenario. Like if in the mirror, if you try to go to a long round tree, because most of the time it's mirror, you go to a long round tree, see which one has the better draw. And by making your deck more polarized like this, hitting Tin Boy is actually like not really that hard. I can't really say that, but the deck is more polarized like this with Tin Boy, so you don't really run an extra bronze card. And yeah, the deck still has Moriels for the toll punish, Philippa Eilhart for that engine yoink, for stealing opponent's engine. We have Horson Jr. for maybe like destroying like 3 power units, a spender. It could, like, the greatest ability for Horse Engineer is that it can destroy a unit up to 9 points. Like, first things first, it destroys 6 power units, so it's really good against siege. For example, you opponent plays like 5 power units, you just damage them with Salamander Mage, and then you play Horse Engineer, you kill their probably like Hanselt or Poultice Pride, and then you just finish off the rest of their units, which is actually really good. And yeah, we're running the standard package here with Kurt, Conjurer's Candle, 2 Salamander Mages, 1 Keeper of the Flame, 2 Cleric of... I really like this card because it's... First of all, it's a spender, and it transforms your Firesworn Zealot into Flaming Rose Footman. And if opponent has something like random damage where they're forced to, you know, ping the armor, it's basically a 1 fee for 2 points, which is actually not that bad. Not that bad at all. Not to mention, it's a tribute, so it synergizes really well with the Salamander Mage. It synergizes really good. You're basically gaining coins, getting that sweet Salamander Mage value. We're running 2 Renegade Mage, very standard, just 2 damage, 1 Arena Ghoul and 1 Mutants Maker. I don't really like Arena Ghouls that much. It's just a 7 for 7, but with Mutants Maker, if you have Jocks on board, you could get the extra 1 points of value from the Firesworn card. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's very simple. We're running Tin Boy here so that if we go to a long round tree where opponent swarms their board very hard, like, we could just... Tin Boy is actually like smurfing really hard. Not to mention it's tribute 8, so if you like missed all of your tribute cards, you could actually like just use Tin Boy tribute 8 and boom, everything's gone. Not to mention, because of this ability, it's like tribute 7. You're getting 2 extra coins here from the Salamander Mage if you have it on board. And yeah, pretty simple. The game plan is, I think if you can win round 1, you should win round 1. You know, I don't think you need to bleed round 2 with this deck. If you manage to draw your Tin Boy in round 2, I believe, like in a long round 2, for example, opponent has 10 cards and you have 9 cards left, like, I think it's fine to go for like 2-0 situation to 2-0 your opponents. But going into a long run is not bad as well, considering, like, for example, if you have a really good hand is going to round 2, I would, if it were me, I would try and 2-0 the opponents if I have a really good cards. If, for example, I have 9 cards and opponent has 10, because simply of our card quality, we have really good cards that opponent might break their hands. There's always the chance. And yeah, if you're like going to a 6 card, 7 card round, I'd rather just go to a long round, just play Conjurer's Candle and go to a long round 3 because of Tin Boy. And yeah, I believe that's pretty much it. The deck has every tool it needs. It has the Engine Yoink, it has the Toll Punish, it has a lot of points. Can't really go wrong with this one. Yeah, Syndicate proving to be the most flexible. I guess it's like, you could argue that it's the strongest value-wise. Like, it's very flexible and it's very strong. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the next faction. I guess let's try SK. So for SK here, I think the best decks to climb. So again, guys, this is this is not a list that's like the absolute strongest at every situation. I picked these decks for just simply climbing at the last days of the season. So one thing that I think is very important for those type of decks is how easy it is to play, how streamlined it is. The line of the play is not easy to play. It's more how streamlined it is. The more streamlined the deck is, the better. And the ability to 2-0. Because we're trying to climb fast, we want to 2-0, right? 2-0ing is faster than doing 3 rounds. That's just math. This is the way it is. Most of the time anyways. Unless you're like jamming your rounds really hard in like 3 rounds, then maybe 3 rounds become really fast. But yeah, 2-0 decks and very streamlined to play. Those 2 types here is just, you know, it's very well defined here because of the Sunset Wonders, Arendite, Haingaze Sword, Mashi Truffle, and the discard package, and of course the magic compass value as well. So yeah, this deck is very very streamlined to play. Most of the time you just want to play your Raging Bear, go use your Megascope. We're running one Armor Up here. I think Armor Up is just a really good card to, you know, play around something like Ornate Sensor. It's just a 4 provision. It damages a unit by 2, spawn 3 witches, so it's 5 for 4. But considering the fact that you can actually like play around Ornate Sensor is actually not bad at all. Especially since we're playing Sunset Wanderers here. If opponent has Ornate Sensor, the moment Sunset Wanderers come out, we're just gonna play Armor Up, and it should be good. And since it's only 4 provision, you could also use it as a discard target. Yeah, most of the 4 provision here is just like discard targets. If we don't need to use spores, discard it. Don't need the Armor Up, discard it. Very nice. So since we're not really running the Sirenova deck, we don't really need to be cautious of our top deck that much, or the Golden Necker. But we're running Erendite here, so getting that tempo is actually very important for us. And there comes the Coral with Roach with the discard package. This is really strong. I should change this to Mask of Ouroboros, I'm sorry. So yeah, it's very straightforward. I think you guys know already what's up. You just need to play round 1. You may want to play the Hofru first. You may want to play the Moxie first. But you know, most of the time you just spam Coral, enter the Mask of Ouroboros, and you're just gonna discard 2 units. I think I want 1 extra discard here instead of the Guarding Slash. Yeah, so very straightforward. You just use Coral, burn a brand, 1 discard, and like most of the time you're gonna be able to have that Magic Compass ready in round 2, because we're thinning a lot with Sunset Wanderers, thinning 2 cards, Coral thinning 1 card, 2 cards, and we could use the Magic Compass to you know, do something like Lippy, or just like Fukusha into more discards, Fukusha into Raging Bear. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do with Magic Compass. It's very straightforward, and this deck has a lot of control as well. We're playing a Korath the Heatwave, Erendite, Haengei Sword, Junod, and Hjalmar Uncrate, which is really good, because you know, we could just discard the Raging Bear and immediately use the Hjalmar for 11 value, remove an engine. Very nice. We're not really running any Purify. You could try to add in a Purify if you want. Like this track card is like, it's your choice. If you're seeing a lot of Skellige, you might want to put in a Purify. If you're seeing a lot of Golden Necker, you might want to put in a Purify. If you're seeing a lot of like non-boosted decks, you could change the Spores to another discard like Heime's Call. There's like this 4 provision cards is your choice. You could change the Armor Up if you're not seeing a lot of Ornate Sensor and like Scoia'tael. You could change it to Peller. You could change it to, yeah, there's like this 4 provision cards is like your playground. You could change them however you wish. Like most of the time they're gonna end up as discard fodder if you don't draw your Tursock Skirmisher, which is you know, it's fine. So yeah, we're running 2 echo cards here. Like there's a like argument to just put in Lady of the Lake instead of Hjalmar, but I like Hjalmar more. Like you could put in Lady of the Lake and change some of this 4 provision cards, but it's really up to you. But I think the main game plan stays the same. You want a tempo round 1, get that juicy Erendite value going to round 2. Use Haengei Sword, try to capture their good units if possible. Use your leader charge to like capture some of their good units, very good units. You could use this to also destroy opponent's engine, for example against Siege. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You just play Coral, very streamlined as I've said before. Get that carryover with Mashi Truffle, and even if you're going to a long run, if you think you have enough control going to a long run because you have Heatwave, Haengei Sword and Erendite, and Junod, and possibly the Magic Compass value, you might be able to win a long run, but most of the time I think I'm just gonna settle with 2 because of the carryover value from Sunset Wanderers is actually really good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for SK. So the reason why I don't think that Self Wound or Skellige Rain is particularly good at climbing, I think most decks will try to snipe them at the end of the ladder. And I think there's gonna be a lot of heat wave going to the end of the ladder. Like those types of ultra greedy decks, I think won't survive at the end of the ladder. Like it's very greedy. Also, it's very strong at the same time, but it's very greedy, right? So, like for example, against this deck, their defender is just gonna get destroyed, and their Fukusha gonna get heat wave. We could Lippy into another heat wave. It's just disaster. Like those types of decks are just not. I don't think it's very good. I mean, it's still a very solid deck, but I prefer to play Reckless Fury, a more streamlined, a more this deck has a lot of good matchup, and yeah, I just prefer this deck over something like Rain or Self Wound to climb at the end of the season, because I think this deck is much faster to play, much more streamlined, and you know, for slightly less power, I think this deck is still actually like very good. So yeah, let's move on to the next faction. Next faction, let's look at Scoia'tael. So for Scoia'tael, I think it's pretty standard. This is the list everyone's been jamming at from the start of the season to this day. I think it is really the strongest Scoia'tael list at the moment. I took the liberty to change like a few cards. I think I like to pack in Atrial and Murliga. I think these two cards is really good. I chose to remove one Dwarven Chariot and simply like only has like 6 Roadie Dwarfs for 6 + 2, like 8 Roadie Dwarfs for the Munro boys. Yeah, so we have Armor's Workshop for the Simlos backup target. Like it's still like playing for a decent amount of points. It kind of like plays for the same points on paper if we didn't kill any engine with the waylays. Like putting armor onto the dwarf berserker that spawns from Munro is already really good, but most of the time we're just gonna use waylay because it could kill units. It's very good. We're running the Alissa version here. I don't usually like running the Alissa version, but I think it's a much more streamlined gameplay, simply because when you play Vanadane and you discard waylays, not discard, but you place the waylays or some of your 4 provision cards to the bottom of the deck, it's easier to play. Like you don't really need to think about what cards to play because you can just jam the waylay and get 9 points of value basically, right? So it's much more streamlined with the Alissa version. It's still quite strong. We're running Ornate Sensor here, but Alissa you could play 2 Ornate Sensors, which is actually really good. Maybe if you're up against a matchup that suffers heavily against Ornate Sensor, you could use Alissa into Ornate Sensor in on 1, and then you just use Simlos for the Armor's Workshop value. You're less likely to break the waylay that way. And yeah, we're running the Guerrilla Tactics version. I think Guerrilla Tactics is simply objectively the better version, because this Slither ability combined with Milva could clear up 1 power units from enemy's board relatively well. It could remove an engine. It's less likely to break because of the Broccolon Sentinel. You need to put 2 in your decks because you want to get the most value out of it. If you want to get the most value out of this, your leader ability, you're gonna put in 2 Broccolon Sentinel, and it just more means that it's much more likely to break, because you don't want to draw waylay, you don't want to draw your Broccolon Sentinel. It's just a nightmare. Really, I don't recommend anyone trying the Broccolon Sentinel. Like, it is a nightmare to mulligan. Don't play the Precision Strike. It's just not worth your sanity, guys. So we're running Etrel and Mulliga. These cards I think is just really good. especially with if you have like Etriel on board, and you know, with Morliga, like you could actually remove, for example, because you're playing Ornate Sensor, right? If opponent plays like Armor Up, I've seen some people play Armor Up in their Skellige deck. The card that damages a unit by 2 and then spawns 3 damage Witcher Student on your own with 1 armor. Like you could just play Morliga and finish off those 1 power units, which is really good. And even if you don't do that, it still plays for this is already 7 for 6, and if it sticks on board, this Morliga is gonna play for 7 plus 6. So yeah, this 2 combos is actually very underrated. I understand why people don't really run these cards, but I think Etriel and Morliga is this really good value card, especially at 6 provisions, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Very simple game plan. I guess you guys know how to play this deck by now, and if you don't, basically you just want to play Vanadane round 1. You keep your cards that you want to mulligan away in round 1. So for example, like Waylay or the Milva, or you know, you want to keep Waylay in round 1, especially if you have something like Oniromancy or Vanadane in your hand. You want to keep those cards, and then if you don't have Vanadane but you have Oniromancy, you just basically always Oniromancy this guy into putting your Waylay at the bottom of the deck, and then you play your Waylay from your hands. You play Alyssa, bring those Waylay back, and then you most of the time try to 2 opponents in round 2 if you're able to do that. So how do you 2 opponents in round 2? So after you play the Waylays from your hand, you don't play Alyssa straight up. You play all your bronze, and this is where Altria and Morliga comes in really handy. They're only 6 provisions, but they're producing a lot of value that you actually don't mind playing them in round 1, right? So this is like 7 plus 7 plus 6. 7 plus 6, yeah. It was really good. Really good value. You don't mind playing them in round 1, and most of the time you're just going to win round 1 simply by the sheer value of Vanadane and Waylays. You go to round 2, you have, for example, like Zoltan, one of your golds. You have like Simlos or Zoltan on Munro. You just play Dwarfen Chariot, transform with Munro. You just, you know, try to push them, bleed them, and then you play Alyssa into Simlos Waylays, and you basically have the tempo. You're basically up by like 50 points by that point if you play your golds. And not to mention here, Zoltan Scoundrel is actually really good at ridding, at getting rid of 1 power units, opponents' 1 power units, and it also a great value card for you. If you play this range, it plays for up to 12 points, and if you play this melee, of course, up to 12 points, but it also has the benefit of removing 1 power units, opponents' 1 power units. Yeah, very straightforward deck. I really love this version with Etriel and Morliga. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Play Squirrel, play the Dwarfen Skirmisher. You might want to change some of the 4 provision here. Like this is just basically like flavor cards that you want to use. You could use if you want to use double Squirrel, that's fine. If you want to use Tempering, that's fine. You want to play Dwarfen Agitator, that's fine. Like honestly, like the choice is yours. I think for the top parts, for the high provision card, it mostly stays the same with Zoltan, Munro, and Simlos, Milva, Vanadane, Zoltan, and Alyssa. And of course, Zoltan's company as well with Ornate Sensor. So yeah, I think that's it for this Coetal. There's nothing more to say to this. It's just very straightforward, very streamlined. And yeah, let's move on to the next deck. I think it's gonna be NR. So for NR, I think the best NR deck by far is the Mutagenerator Siege. It's just proven itself to be really good. We play Heatwave and Muzzle, very standard, because this deck doesn't really have any hard punish. We need to play Heatwave, and against, you know, Self Wound, if we don't draw our Heatwave, we're just gonna get cocked by Sigfold. Like we're not gonna be able to do much against Sigfold. That's why we're running Heatwave against Defender. If they play Defender, we just steal their Defender with Muzzle. Very nice. You know, we can defend our stuff. And this deck is very straightforward. Most of the time you want to draw your Mutagenerator in round 1. You play Mutagenerator, you play all of your 5 provision cards in your range row, try to get that carryover value. And you know, if you didn't win the round, your opponent tries to bleed you, it's fine to just drop Siege, because most of your value is gonna come from King Hansel or the Faultless Pride. And even if you're bronze, like if you pass early in round 1, you go to a long round 2, it's gonna be really hard for opponents to bleed you, because most of your cards are like engine cards, right? Like Reinforced Ballista, Carol Ballista, Siege Tower, and of course Rivian Pikeman, synergizing really well with all these cards that has cooldown in it, while also being a soldiers itself. So yeah, I think this card is really this deck is actually really good. Playing Reinforcement here to get that extra value from the Mutagenerator. We're not running a Joan Nathalie, so that's one concern. Like we might not draw our Siege or AA, which would feel pretty bad. So you know, most of the time you want to dig for Mutagenerator in 1. Like you want to dig for your golds in round 1, and it's fine to not win round 1, right? Because you're basically trying to gather your carryover value. You want to draw your good cards, you want to draw your carryovers, King Radovid, Mutagenerator, and Centurion Envoy to get all the golds, basically. Oh yeah, pretty straightforward. Like even if they manage to bleed your scenario and you go to a short round 3, chances are, if you still have your leader ability, you could use King Hansel onto your Faultless Bride, or King Hansel into your Siege Tower for that extra, like very good point slam, right? So you have King Hansel, you play Siege Tower, you use your leader charge, and then boom, you're just gonna bombard them in one turn. Like in last say, you just basically like, you know, like the thing is, if opponent didn't try to bleed you in round 2, and you don't have any lasso with King Hansel, it's gonna feel really bad, right, if opponent goes unitless. But even so, I think this deck is a pretty good deck. Like it has a lot of points. Like if you're up against a unitless opponent, you want to watch out for their removal. Like the cards that you don't really want them to remove are Siege Tower and only Siege Tower, right? Like it's at the point where you really want to save your King Hansel for the Siege Tower value, because you really don't want to you don't really like, this is the only card that's gonna give you value, right? Or maybe they're gonna have they're not gonna use their thing for Lasse, their Vanadane for Lasse, and if you think that they might have Isengrim, you might be able to save the Faultless Pride and King Hansel to Lasse. But yeah, I think this deck is generally really good. Even against Self Wound or Unitless deck, I think this deck should still be able to gain an advantage very, very nicely. Oh yeah, the gameplay is also very streamlined. You want to play Mutagenerator, get that carryover value, pass round 1, go to a long round 3, a long round 2. Like it depends on your hand, right? If you don't have a lot of 5 power engines in your hand, you know, it's fine to just pass early round 1 without playing the Mutagenerator. But if you have like a lot of 5 power cards to play, I think it's like minimum 3 that you get some good value out of the Mutagenerator. Like even if you only have 2, I mean 2 is like, no really, it's like 3 units, 3 5 power, 3 5 provision units in your hand with Mutagenerator. I think you should always try to get that carryover value. So yeah, very straightforward. Mutagenerator round 1, and if you don't have it, it's fine. You just play your bronze cards, and if you think you might be able to get a win in round 1, you should try to get that win, because we're playing a lot of engine, and chances are if we're going to a long round 1, we're gonna win that round most of the time, because we're playing an engine deck, if that makes sense. And it's fine to go to a short round because we have King Hansel with leader charge combo, plays for a lot of value, very, very nice. So yeah, if you want to bleed your opponent, I suggest starts with playing the bronze siege engine first, and then followed up with the siege scenario, and then you just try to control them basically. And yeah, I think that's it for NR. It's pretty quick, it's pretty streamlined. There's really nothing much to this. Is that you want Mutagenerator, you want to pass round 1, get the carryover value. If opponent bleeds you, you try to defend the bleed. It's fine to just, like, I think it's better to just get the Siege out than the King Hansel, because Siege is just damage, while Hansel is also points. So yeah, you want to use Heat Wave on units that are really troublesome. You don't really, if it's against Self Wound, you don't really want to use this against Fuxia. Like, you don't really want to use this against Knut. I think the only target for Heat Wave is just simply Sigfold, or maybe Fuxia if it has like 30 points or something. It's still fine. Like, you want to use either Squirrel or Korathi Heat Wave to deal with either Fuxia or Sigfold, Sigfold being the #1 priority. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're playing Odorin here. Odorin's really cool looking card, a really cool guy. I like him, that's why I put this guy in. And yeah, let's move on to the last deck. And that deck is a Nilfgaard. So okay, so with Nilfgaard, I think Ball deck might be the strongest deck. It's very debatable, right? Ball like, it's not the ball that makes the deck strong, it's this card right here. Like, it's not the ball, it's the Philippe van Morelhem. This card is really strong. It's actually like absolutely insane. The ball itself is like fine, but since it's synergized really well with this card, like, you might want to put Masquerade Ball in. Like, it's fine. Ball is like whatever, but this card is insane. That's why I think Masquerade Ball deck Devotion is actually like the strongest deck for Nilfgaard right now. But I think I'm more comfortable with playing the Assimilate deck, simply because it's easier to play. Again, guys, if you're trying to climb on last days, making a deck that's easy to play is very important. You don't really want to experiment on the last days of the deck, last days of climbing. Experimenting, you do it early on the season so that when it's time to actually climb, you could climb fast. And I think double cross Assimilate here is just more streamlined for most people. And I think I recommend this to anyone who's trying to climb with Nilfgaard. It's very simple, actually. It's not simple. There's like I think with Assimilate, it's easier to play your cards, right? You know, you just play your Calvite round 1. You might lose round 1. You play all your golds, try to get a card. If they bleed you and they got all of your golds, like, it's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it's very straightforward. There's really nothing else to say to this. We're running Rune Mage here, it's not Terra Nova. Running Bribery here. I've seen some people run for card. I really don't like this card in this deck. It's too high provision. Like, I'd rather run something like Runestone. Like, Runestone is actually like a much better card, because with Runestone you can actually like play something like what was the card? Diplomacy into Remedy. Like, Runestone is just a much better card, guys. Runestone is actually OP in this deck. But yeah, I think, you know, I play 2 Remedy and 2 Diplomacy here. I think having 2 Remedy is really good, because with Rune Mage we could actually use Simlas from our leader ability, and we could use Simlas as well from Coup de Grace. So, you know, just heads up, if you're up against Coyatel, don't use your Remedy and Diplomacy, because you might be able to use your double cross and Coup de Grace or even Terra Nova onto the Simlas. It's really good. So you could use Spying Tag, give Spying Tag to Simlas, plays it from your Coup de Grace and Terra Nova, and you should just be chilling. And yeah, we have bribery into Simlas as well. Very good. So yeah, having 2 Remedy and Diplomacy here is a really good option against Simlas. This is what I do. And yeah, the game plan is very straightforward, as I've said before. It doesn't really look at what opponents play, but if you see some like great potential in the in your for your board. For example, opponent is playing Nekorot. You know, you don't really want to. But yeah, basically, it depends on the matchup, right? If you're up against Vampire, you want a Nekorot and their Flatter. If you're up against Mirror, most of the time you don't really want to, you know, go out of your way to do some things. You just play your stuff. Very simple. I think the deck is. It comes with experience to know what you want to do in a certain matchup, right? What line do you want to take in certain matchups? And the best way I can tell you is that against Nilfgaard, it's fine to go to a long round. If you get Bled, that's also fine. Just try not to do anything out of necessary part. Like, I find it better to try and go to a shorter round 2. Like, if you're on red coin and you're not sure you're gonna be able to take a win from your opponent, I find it better to just go for a shorter round 2. So you want to play at least 4 bronze, in my opinion, 4 bronze and 1 Calvite in round 1 if you're in the mirror. If you're in a red coin in a mirror, play 4 bronze, pass with Jan Calvite, and go to a short round 2, and that makes it that it's very hard for you to fill your board, right? Because of you're only playing I think 8 cards or like 7 cards. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, dude. There's really nothing more to it. I wish I could say more, but it really, what you do in that matchup, it's actually like very streamlined. It's not very streamlined, it's quite hard to describe, but you know, it's very flexible. The game plan is very flexible, and yeah, for me this is like a very comforting list, because most of the time if you want a 2-0, you could do that with your leader ability, with Rune Mage being able to see 5 your opponent's units from their hands. And there's really nothing extra to this. We're running Dasbo Grunstone, the best card on the game right now. Very nice. Dude, we're able to infinitely create diplomacy from this card. Isn't that insane? It's like insane. But yeah, we're running Lydia. We're not running Fur card. I personally don't really like that card. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for the decks that I think are really good at climbing at the last few days of the season. Let's round it up. The summary of the deck is that Nilfgaard, I think, is Assimilate, a very standard list. NR, it's Stockpile with Siege and Mutagenerator, with Heatwave and Figo's Muzzle. The game plan is, I don't think I'm gonna go to the game plan, but yeah, just rounding up the list with Skoyatel. We're running the standard hybrid list with Zoltan Warrior, Munro, Simlos, and Milva with Guerrilla Tactics, simply because it's harder to brick. It's not harder, but it's less likely to brick rather than the Precision Strike version. I really like this more. Vanadane, Alyssa, and Etriel and Murliga. Etriel and Murliga being a really good value card that it's fine to just spend them in round 1 if you're trying to win the round. And yeah, pretty standard bronze package here with Ornate Sensor as well. With SK, I think the best deck to climb on the last days. I need to press this. I need to like you know, say it a lot. It's not the best decks overall. It's not the best decks of that faction right now. It's simply the situation, right? So the best decks that you can use right now to climb at the last days of the season is a Reckless Flurry. It's very easy to 2-0 people with this, with Sunset Wonders value. You're able to thin your deck to be able to play Magic Compass in round 2. And yeah, having Haingate Sword, stealing a unit, Erendite also. Since we're playing a lot of tempo here with Sunset Wanderers and the Coral Discard package, Nicker is coming out. Like, I think Erendite is just gonna be really good value card in this deck. Yeah, we're running 1 armor up to play on Ornate Sensor, and if you don't see your opponent is gonna play Ornate Sensor, you just discard this and it'll be fine, right? Playing Hjalmar, Junot, very standard. Magic Compass. Most of the time you're gonna use it onto Fuchsia. And for Syndicate, we're running very standard off the book list with Tin Boy as the tech card to win the mirror in round 3. Like if you go to a long round 3, Tin Boy just becomes it's a beast of a card basically, because you know you're getting a lot of value from it. Opponent's gonna swarm their boards, you're gonna swarm your boards, but opponent wanna have Tin Boy and you have Tin Boy and you just clap them in the mirror. Very, very nice. Overall, very standard. Conjurer's Candle, 2 Salamander Mage, 1 Keeper of the Flame, 2 Shady Defender, 1 Arena Ghoul, and 1 Mutant's Maker. Playing the Firesworn package with Jox and Cyrus. King of Beggars playing for a really good value, not having to play this card, and simply this card will give you 13 value from attack. Horse Engineer for that control, Philippine Heart for stealing opponent's engine, opponent's value card, and Moriels for the Toll Punish. Also Kurt, Purify or use Bounty to synergize with Moriels or Horse Engineer. Or you could use it to Purify Defender or Cyrenova. Very, very nice. And okay, so lastly, monster decks, 2 monster decks. It's Vampire and Deathwish with the Vampire. I like running Detlef here as a value card. It's really, really good. You know, being able to spawn up to 4 Blood Moon on opponent's row. It's already playing for 14, I believe. And being able to damage bleeding unit by 1. It's like +4 on the after 4 turns. It's like 18 points. Not to mention it could also spawn Ekimara for that extra vampire body for Oriana. We're playing 2 Incubus here. Incubus is really good with Regis Reborn because you can just play Incubus onto like Flutter from the operator here, and if opponent doesn't have Flutter on their graveyard from operator, it's fine to just spawn something like Flutter and Nekarot here. Nekarot immediately bleeding the enemy unit gives you immediate value on the Regis engine value. And yeah, Unseen Elder here, not on the devotion list. It's just very nice. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't take away the bleeding value from Oriana. This is actually kind of good. We're not running Proto Flutter, but if you want to run Proto Flutter instead of Detlef, that's very understandable. You could run Katakan or Proto Flutter. It's really up to you. But I think I've seen more success with Detlef with this deck. Like Detlef is a really, really good card, I think. Yeah, but we're running 2 Alps, 2 Nekarot, 1 Garcane, and 2 Feast of Bloods here. We're not running the traditional Peller or Queen of the Night. I think simply running 2 Purify is just really good here, because it's essentially a 6 what's the 6 value instead of Peller plays for only 4, or Queen of the Night is a 6 for 6, and it gives you bleeding 3 bleeding. 3 bleeding. It kind of like synergize with Flutter as well if you don't really want to use your leader charge or your Nekarot is off cooldown. And we're running 1 Undying Thirst here. I just really like this card. I decided to put 1 in. You could change it to a Peller, traditional Peller. You could change it to Vial of Forbidden Knowledge. You could change it to Mahakam Ale. There's really, or Natural Selection, Pact, Kikimora Worker. There's really no end to this. Like 4 provision cards, it's your playfield. But yeah, the deck is very solid at, you know, at climbing really fast. Like it has the ability to 2 opponents very easily. If you know, if Flutter left unchecked, you can just get tons of value at Flutter, tons of value at Oriana, especially since we're running Defender. Like opponent has to either purify this, and Tesha Mutna can't really go through this, so most of the time you're gonna play something like Invocation, Heatwave, or a Purify for our Defender. And if they're playing Purify, that means they're purifying one of their units, and that's really not that much of a loss for us if they purify our Defender. Playing 1 Lock here and 1 Heatwave for the control. Deck doesn't really run any control. I don't really like Toad Prince because Toad Prince consumes a unit from opponent's board and it gets rid of a unit, which I don't really like. Yeah, we're running 2 Incubus. Very nice, proactive value, proactive play. And yeah, let's move on to the last deck, which I think is actually really good to climb the ladder at the end of the season. It's Deathwish monster. So yeah, Deathwish is really straightforward. Most of the time the game plan is you wanna try to tempo round 1 with the Brewers Ritual. You Whispering Helock, Brewers Ritual consumes the Brewers Ritual, you use your TA for the probably Harpiag or Rotfind. You play Giant Toad for the extra carryover value. You could change one Giant Toad to like Bargus, but I think just having 2 of this is actually really good because most of the time you're just gonna consume 1 units every turn anyway, and it's still like 2 consumes, but it's 2 consumes on 2 different rounds. This is really good. We're running Forktail here, and Forktail and Lacerate for that wide punish. We've seen Magpies run Sheet Roll because it kind of synergizes with the Rope Punish from Warcat, Lacerate, and Forktail because it could destroy opponent's unit, and Sheet Roll is gonna get a ton of value from that. Which is the reason why we're not running Sheet Roll, but instead we're running Erendite because Erendite is just simply a good value card. I can't stress this enough. In a tempo deck, you basically if you're not running Erendite, you're kind of wasting those provisions unless you have a specific goal that you're trying to achieve. For example, a Magpie, it's a tournament situation, it's open deck list, and you can know when you're going second or first. Since we're in a ladder situation, we don't really know when we're gonna go first or second. But even if we're going second, right, we still have the Brewers Ritual play into a consume, into a Urn of Death or Urn of Shadows, right? It's really good. We're running the relics here, the triple, the Relic Sisters, because Brewers could actually goes up to 3 charge, which is really good. You play Brewers first, and you have the 1 consumes ready. You can float it to consume the units that you're gonna play next. For example, Deathloaf or any Deathwish units, and then you play it, and yeah, bing bada boom, you have a really good setup of combos here. It's very nice. War Rat, really good card. Infinite consumes. It's not infinite, but 1 per turn consumes that you don't have to click, which is really nice. So you could lift this on even after you pass. I don't know if that's any relevance, but you could do that. It's 6 for 6 that consumes a unit every turn. You can't really ask more than that. It's really good. It's doing its job very well. We're on a 1 the Regarai here for that lock. So it's just 1 tech against something like Self Wound, because we don't really have any punish for them, right? In the tournament situation, sure, you can just go without lock, but this is a ladder situation, and we're trying to increase our odds on winning by even a little bit, right? But just even a little bit. So I think having the Regarai here is this is very important tech cards, a lock. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Running 1 Pillar, Purified Defender to be able to lock them or damage them with Erendite. The only control that we have here is kind of only Rotfiend, Lacerate, Erendite, and a lock. Maybe it's Warcat and 4 damage. We actually have a kind of a lot of control, but yeah, this deck I think it's pretty solid. We have Carryover, Point Slam, good value cards, relatively good value cards. Rotfiend playing for a 10, Harpiag playing for a 10, Foglet playing for a 10, Aboya plays for a 10, could be more because of the try value. Could even be used on Arcus Queen if you think opponent doesn't have any any ways to lock this, which is really good. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the decks that I think are really good at climbing at the end of the season. Again guys, this is specifically to climb at the end of the season, so I made this list considering that the deck has to be very streamlined to play, has to be really simple compared to their contemporaries, compared to the other options. It has to be really simple. It has to be, of course, has a higher win rate. It's not higher, but really strong, really good value deck. And these are the decks that I think are the best at climbing right now. So again, this is not the definitive best. I believe that everyone has a deck that they play their best, and that deck might not be within this list. They might feel more comfortable playing a different deck than the ones that I have here. But generally, I think, again, I cannot stress this enough, this is what I think are the best decks that I feel most comfortable with at climbing the ladder right now. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. That's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What about the decks? What do you think are the strongest decks so far? What are you most comfortable playing with? Like maybe you don't like you like playing relics more. Tell me, how do you do it, etc, etc. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up, subscribe, and like. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye bye.